Hey guys, this is Mitch, and we're wrapping up Jim Valentino week, I suppose. That's what it must be. So yeah, we've just finished up with Shadowhawk 2, which turned out to be kind of a disappointment, really, all around. So now we're going to take a look at what may have sort of made Jim Valentino's name a bit before Image Comics, with Guardians of the Galaxy #1. But first, if you enjoy the channel, if you feel like you might want to support me a little bit as an artist, what you can do is in the description, there's a link to my Patreon, and if you subscribe there, that gives you access to everything I do. So all of the Blood Force comics and the pages and the YouTube videos before they make it to YouTube, as well as some Patreon exclusive content. So that's worth checking out. So let's get into this. So, Guardians of the Galaxy. What the fuck is that, right? I never heard of that. Well, I'm not surprised. Guardians of the Galaxy started out in the late 60s. And it started out as a Roy Thomas idea, as a lot of those ideas that Marvel did in 1968. And the idea then was guerrillas, like guerrilla warfare. Insurgents, essentially. And they would be working against the communists. Either the Russians or the Chinese, something like that. Because it's 1968, and the Cold War's on. And he presented this idea to Stan. He didn't have time to do it himself. Stan conferred with Arnold Drake, I think another writer, and they decided they didn't want to go with the Cold War thing. They thought they'd basically just do that idea in space, which isn't a bad idea. And so you get Guardians of the Galaxy, and that was Charlie 27, Martin X, Vance Astro, and I think Yondu. Is that right? Yeah, that's it. And then, these other ones get added on later. And, they're freedom fighters in the 31st century. It's a pretty good concept. It's good enough, anyway. As long as you can do something interesting with it. So they showed up in Marvel Superheroes, number 18, which is a comic I've never heard of. Didn't last too long after their introduction. After that, they kind of bounce around a little. They disappear for a while. They show up in the Defenders. They're in Marvel 2-in-1, the Avengers. And they just keep popping up every once in a while and not really having a home. And that Avengers appearance in 1980 was the last time they would show up until 1990. And the idea there was, apparently Tom DeFalco had an idea to resurrect Guardians of the Galaxy, which, a 12-year-old idea at that point, it's not that old, really, right? But whatever idea he had, he didn't like it. And apparently Jim Valentino, who had started working at the company not too long before, he was mostly doing what-ifs, had an idea that he presented to Tom about Guardians of the Galaxy, about reviving it as sort of an action-adventure, kind of high fantasy kind of thing. And Tom DeFalco liked that idea a whole lot more, so they decided to try and go ahead with it. And apparently it was a minor hit. Well enough, in fact, that Jim wrote up to issue 29, and he drew most of those issues as well. And from what I understand, he had scripts going up to issue 50. The Guardians title itself lasted until issue 62. So well enough for it to cement itself. And then, of course, after Jim stopped writing it in issue 22, he went on to do Shadowhawk. So why don't we take a look and see, basically, how it turned out. This is a comic I never even really heard of, I think, back in the day. The only notion I had of Guardians of the Galaxy in 1992 was from Marvel cards, because they were rookies. Although I believe I had the Guardians of the Galaxy annual that was part of the Korvac saga, which they do mention in this a little bit. So let's start things off with the cover. How is this holding up? Not too bad, I think. I like the explode into the Marvel Universe of the 31st century. That's good stuff. First costume, like all this stuff on the cover. I always like that stuff. Good logo. Like, there's all the superfluous stuff is good to start with. The image itself, not bad. It is Jim Valentino's style, which is not super well suited to superheroes. He's trying on this, because you can see the extra musculature on like Charlie 27 here and Yondu and stuff. And it's just, it doesn't really match the stuff that his contemporaries were doing in 1990. You think 1990, you think Todd McFarlane, Spider-Man. You think Jim Lee on X-Men. It's not a ton of competition. But then again, Jim was trying to set this up in comparison to those. He's saying, that kind of stuff, it's okay, but it's not really what I want to do with comics. I want to make stuff that's fun and adventurous and that kind of stuff. I'm not trying to make pinups, which is good, because nobody would buy them. So yeah, this image here isn't bad. I mean, particularly when you got to get 7 people on a cover, that's always a little bit tough. It doesn't need a lot. I think it just needs an angle change. Like if you were to do this as a worm's eye view, that would work. Or either that or have them all pointed at the cover, which is standard. You know, that's the kind of thing Rob would do. But it does work. I mean, for an engaging cover. This one, they're all kind of looking off to the side. And they don't look fantastic, but I mean, you know, it's there's enough there that you might pick this up in June of 1990. All right, so we're going to kick things off with a big old splash page. Hey, I know that particular method. Just been using a fair bit of that in Shadowhawk 2. Not so much in the Shadowhawk first miniseries. And this is going to be a very by the numbers first issue, I would say. We're going to learn a lot about the history of the Guardians of the Galaxy. We're going to learn about their names, we're going to learn about their abilities, and a bit about their past. We're going to learn about the current situation they've been in, and about any recent events they've been involved in that would inspire Marvel to kick off a new series with them, which is what we get. So, first shot, the Guardians are being destroyed. Right? Kind of. They're being attacked by a gun emplacement, essentially. They're on a remote desert planet, and there's an automatic defense system that's in place. So if we're going to read the... I'll read the narration here. Why not? There is a second that wrestles with eternity, a heartbeat forever frozen in the tapestry of time. Aha. This is such a moment. Exclamation. The year is 3017 AD, in one of the many possible futures of the multiverse, but it is one we have visited several times before. The planet is called Korg, an out-of-the-way, low-tech world in the Bledsoe system. This is before Drew. The Guardians of the Galaxy were not expecting trouble when they arrived here, but 10 seconds ago, a sophisticated bank of gun turrets rose from a barren, dirt-covered ground, and began firing. The Guardians were caught unawares. It is not a state they will remain in for very long! Exclamation. So that's all fine. Actually, even the image itself, it's like, ooh, shit's happening right away. I like that. And to give you a reason for them to be here, to be attacked by these lasers, it's all right. And even the image itself, pretty good. Again, by Jim's standards. It helps a little bit that he's not inking himself. This is going to be inked by Steve Montano, and I think he does a decent job. Kicking things off, we're going to introduce everybody one by one. So we're going to start off here with, he is called Starhawk, enigmatic mutant from the planet Arcturus. I didn't know that was a planet. I thought that was a star system. He wields the power of light and shares his physical being with the woman Alita, but he shares the secret of being one who knows with no one. And I mean, there's a bit of an explanation about what that means over the course of the comic. We don't know just yet. And Starhawk's leading the action, telling them what they got to do. They got to destroy the mainframe. And I believe we jump over here. A little bit of unclarity. And we jump to Nikki, who is the last child of Earth's Mercury colony. And we get a lot of that in this, actually, where they're the last child of a colony. And we learn that she's got enhanced agility, and is an expert marksman, and is sarcastic, and is the navigator and technical weapons expert. That's a lot of exposition, but it doesn't feel too crowded. So that took a bit of skill. And we're going to do the thing where everybody says their teammate's name. She says, "Who died and made you, boss, Starhawk?" Because remember, she's sarcastic. And then Charlie-27 responds. We find out he's the last survivor of Earth's Jupiter colony. And there's a nice little bit of actual kind of techie information here in that because he grew up on Jupiter, he's got super dense mass. So he's super strong, super durable, all that kind of stuff. And he responds to Nikki. And then, "What do you think, Marty?" Like they all got to talk to each other during their fight. But it helps kind of drill the names in your head, because they say during the narration and then they say it during conversation. It does help a little bit, actually. And then who's Marty? Marty is Martinex, sole survivor of Earth's colony on Pluto. And he has mastery of something. He like thermal energy. So he can shoot heat blasts from one hand and cold blasts from his other one. And he refers to Charlie back. He asks how Yondu's doing. And Yondu says, "I'm clearing a path for Vance." Yondu is basically a Native American, and he's got the whistling arrows. We all know who Yondu is now. He's not a pirate in this. He's, as they describe him here, primitive mystic and ancient weapons master. So, it's 1990. That's not uncommon. And Vance is Major Vance Astro, first Earthman to the stars, last survivor of the 20th century. That's a catchy title. And Vance Astro, we learn, is trapped within this suit that he's in because it preserves his life. He is actually from the 20th century, and he is psychokinetic, which is a term I'm never really sure what that means. Is it different from telekinetic? I don't even really know. And the title was a little bit of a surprise to me. Are they ready for Taserface? I didn't know Taserface was a real Guardians of the Galaxy thing. Honestly, I figured that was a James Gunn thing. It seems like a James Gunn thing. And we get reasonably exciting shots of all the characters. So, I mean, it is kind of a double-page spread. This is, for a first issue that's not trying to be edgy in any kind of way, it's effective. You know, like it's like I said, it's by the numbers. The art could be flashier, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. And Vance Astro likes to quote heroes from the 20th century. So in this case, he quotes Ben Grimm, says it's clobbering time, and the Guardians of the Galaxy strike as one, and the machine, which moments ago threatened their lives, is reduced to so much slag and debris. And that's kind of a lame shot for a big old group shot. But what are you going to do? Pretty good old school explosion. Like that belongs somewhere in the 70s. That's okay. And everybody always has to refer to each other for, like, whenever they're addressing somebody, they have to say the person's name. I feel like that's almost like a shooter leftover, a Jim Shooter thing. And I did this in Blood Force number 1, actually, where people kept referring to each other by the first name, at least the beginning of the issue. Actually, I did that in number 3 as well. I don't remember if I did in number 2. I think I probably did. But you have to assume that the person picking up the comic doesn't know who the characters are, particularly with the number 1, obviously. So you drill it into their heads. This guy's Charlie. This guy's Martin X. This guy's Starhawk. Over and over and over. Like I can, I'm not looking directly at the page right now, but I can remember all the names, which I may not be able to do with an image title. And they're trying to figure out what the machine is. They can't really tell where it's from. All they can tell is it's not indigenous to this planet. So it was planted by somebody. And who would it have been planted by? Why, the unholy terror that is Taserface. And Taserface is presented fairly sincerely. Like, you don't name a character of Taserface unless there's at least some element of tongue-in-cheek, right? But, there's no real evidence that there's any kind of sarcastic humor implied here. So I'm a little curious as to what Jim's particular train of thought was on this. I have to assume, like I said, that it's some sort of poke. Or like a nudge with the elbow. But, Jim's poker face is pretty good. And this seems like a pretty over-the-top character for Jim Valentino. He's got a Colossus arm and a couple legs, obviously. And gigantic knee pads with the spikes coming out. Another solid metal arm. The 3 grenades on the chest is the real giveaway, I feel like. And what looks like Nick Fury's, I don't remember what it's called. It's like the claw, the red claw of doom, some shit like that. And one hand is a big old mass of guns and an arrow. That arrow is the capper. And he's not presented as a joke. He's not even presented as scary. He's just presented as run-of-the-mill comic book villain. And now the Guardians are addressing the denizens of Korg. Helpfully. They do say what it is right there. Who are terrified of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Particularly of Yondu, it seems. And when he tries to approach them, he gets attacked. And he's able to disarm him without injuring him. But they know that they can't exactly push their luck around this place. And they maybe wonder if there's another member of Yondu's race on this planet. That's not supposed to be able to happen. They say here, Yondu, last son of Earth's only extrastellar colony, Centauri 4. So there shouldn't be another Yondu. But maybe there is. Who knows? So the Guardians are going to go around, and they're looking for a clue of some kind. We don't really know what that is yet. Martin X is going to go back up to the ship, and Martin X is the leader in this case. Even though Starhawk was the one giving out commands, maybe Starhawk's more of a field leader. But Martin X is going to go back and recheck the coordinates and make sure that this clue they're looking for is on this planet. And Yondu comes up to join him because he wants to commune with Anthos, which is something that Yondu communes with often. So they beam away. They do call it beaming. And the rest of the Guardians of the Galaxy are going to go around the populace and try and find whatever this clue is. So while they're talking about how to break up, Charlie 27 is going to flirt with Nikki here, which she doesn't exactly brush him off. So I guess they're a little bit of a thing maybe, or at the very least they like to flirt. Meanwhile, Starhawk goes away so that he can turn into a woman, which is Alita. And I'm not sure what Alita's for. Like, I get that she's another character that's merged with him, all that kind of stuff. She doesn't seem to do anything any different than Starhawk, really. Starhawk, he can control light, but like hard light, like a Marvel thing. And he's more of a strategist. I'm not sure what Alita does that's beneficial to the team. I assume they must get split at some point. I mean, there is the fact that you can throw her tits on the cover, so that's something. But yeah, he transforms into her. She's like, yay, I'm back, yay. And then we go back to the ship. The Freedom's Lady, which is apparently their second ship. The first was the USS Captain America, I believe. And Martinix has his coordinates all locked down. He's going to check in with Yondu because Yondu's been communing with Anthos. And we learn Yondu does not trust technology to the point where he doesn't even allow an intercom in his room. We get our nice thought bubbles to inform us of that kind of thing. And Yondu invites Martinix to sit by the fire and commune with Anthos. And it's like, I don't believe it. You don't have to believe it. Just look in the fire. Anthos is in there. You can just, check it out. And Martinix does and starts to see his origin. This was the first appearance of Guardians of the Galaxy in Marvel Superheroes number 18. That's essentially the cover. And the story of now we're getting the origin of the Guardians. The Brotherhood of the Badoon had conquered our solar system, committed genocide on our races, and the image is changing to when they teamed up with the Avengers, by the looks of it. And that would have been in 1980. Then they're fighting alongside the Defenders. They keep fighting against the Badoon, and I believe that's the threat in the Guardians of the Galaxy comic. At some point they found Nikki, and now they're seeing the deaths of Starhawk's and Alita's children, which is a bit I always forget. So, okay, they had children together, and now they're essentially in one body. That's interesting. I mean, there's a lot of room for character problems, for plot problems in there. I mean, I can see reasons for it. I just feel like there should have been a bit more differentiation between their powers, maybe, or something. Like, just Alita should have brought something more to the table somehow. And now they're battling Korvac and his minions of menace alongside Thor, and this is like future Thor. And this is the Korvac saga, which was the subject of the 1992 Marvel annuals. Some of them, anyway. So, like Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor, Silver Surfer, and I think New Warriors? Maybe? And I bought a few of those because I was kind of interested in what the Korvac saga was about. I don't remember now. And now they're guest starring in Spider-Man. And now they're trying to resurrect Adam Warlock. And now Vance Astro is going back in time to find his younger self to try and convince him to not become an astronaut. Because that turns him into him, who is a man at a time and the last of his race. And it doesn't work. He actually awakens the psychokinetic power in him. And he's able to dispel the Guardians of the Galaxy. And then basically this Vance Astro is a member of another reality where he doesn't grow up to become whichever that one that was. He becomes Marvel Boy, which is a member of the New Warriors, which is an interesting little twist. And then now they're all, we're like a family of orphans. We decided to stay together. And now they're on the hunt for, I don't know if they're on the hunt for multiple relics of the 20th century, but currently they're on the hunt for Captain America's shield. So that's why they're on Korg. And that's the origin of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Presented fairly well. Again, not super excitingly drawn, but at the very least you get to do, you're summing up everything in the best images from those issues, right? Or close to. So now they've had their vision. What Yondu concludes from this is that their fates are linked to the 20th century, which Martinix disagrees with, but they teleport back down to the surface because the origin is over. And on the surface, Alita and her boobs greet them, and Martin X is like, "Oh, hey, glad to see you again." Oh, he doesn't say it like that. I say it like that. I say it like that whenever a lady with big old boob window says hi to me. So Martin X confirms these are the coordinates for the shield, but it's not here, just like all the other worlds we've been to. So somebody is either taking them on a wild goose chase, or somebody is getting to these coordinates before them and lifting the clue before they can get to it. And while they're arguing a little bit about it, Taserface shows up. And they have 3 seconds to quit this world or die at the hands of Taserface. And they're like, what? And he shoots them immediately. And that's fun. And this is all like very old school kind of comics. Just like the pose. Not going too hard on the backgrounds here. But again, Jim's acting as writer and penciler. So I always, you got to cut people a bit of slack when they do that shit. So Charlie 27 rushes him, but Taserface is able to shrug him off. And Yondu shoots one of his Yaka arrows. And just like buzzes it around his head. Like, ah! He doesn't actually murder him with it, as he should, as Michael Rooker would. Michael Rooker shows us all the way. But he does distract him long enough that Nikki can get some shots in with her wrist blasters. And she's able to leap out of the way of his attacks because she's super agile. This is kind of a nice shot, actually. And Taserface starts picking them off one by one. And Martin X pleads with Alita to bring back Starhawk because he can fight better than you. And she's like, oh, man. And I guess she relents because Starhawk joins the fight and is like immediately shot down by Taserface's Taserface. For real. So Martin X replies by sealing his Taserface in a block of ice, which seems like he should have done that earlier. Then Vance Astro does something psychokinetically, and Taserface falls, and now that's what I call teamwork. They're victorious and shit. And then elsewhere in the galaxy, somebody learns that Taserface has been felled. And somebody else says, but he's one of our most powerful scouts. How can this be? What is his location? And this bears further investigation. We can't have what happened to Taserface happen to the rest of us. I don't know, just the fact that the name Taserface is bandied about like it's an okay name to say is funny in itself. So, like, good job, Jim, I gotta say. So, Martin X tends to Starhawk after the battle here in a panel I like. I'm not sure exactly why. Maybe just the poses are good, the musculature is good. I don't know. This is a good panel. This is the best, maybe the best shot of Martin X in the whole thing. Jim has a tendency to make Martin X look like a pile of Legos. Like, stuff like this, it looks kind of low effort. You know, so it's a basic version of, you know, it gets across what he's trying to do. But it's not, it doesn't look cool, and it doesn't look like he's trying to do a realistic representation, which is fine. But I don't know, just this pose here is pretty good. It's a little Bern Hogarthy. And now they're going to find out who their adversary is. And Vance Astro decides that this armor reminds him of Iron Man. And I'm like, really? Because it's red and gold? Or that might be why. I'm not sure. I don't think it really looks all that much like Iron Man, but, well, maybe the Colossus legs. I think that might be Iron Man around this time. And then somebody off panel says, he is one of us, alien. So they turn and flex and a bit of a better group shot to encounter the Stark. And that's quite a bit better. That's a lot of characters. So I gather from the name that these armors are supposed to look like they're descended from Tony Stark's technology. I don't see it, but sure, why not? So the Stark are going to come after them in issue 2, whatever that means. But we get a nice splash to end things on. And again, well constructed. It's tough to get that many characters into one panel, even if it is a splash. And to make them look like they're all standing on the same surface, even if there is no background. Not too bad. All right. So that's Guardians of the Galaxy #1. And it wasn't mind-blowing or anything, but I could see this being something that people might latch on to a little bit. Like, if you're used to buying stuff like Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man, or I guess at this time it would be New Mutants wrapping up, you know, written by fucking Fabian Nicieza, kind of, off of just whatever pages Rob gave him. Like, those are probably the biggest titles at the moment. You know, I mean, like, at least Uncanny is being written by Chris Claremont. Wolverine's being written by Larry Hama. You got Peter David on the Hulk. Like, there's some, you know, it's not like Image where it's just art. A lot of the titles do have a competent writer on them, but by no means all of them. So it's kind of handy to have just another, like, and it's like a sci-fi space adventure book. It's all right. And I guess this got a following. I can kind of see why. You know, you get enough of the characters, you get what their mission is. They accomplish a little bit in this, but not too much. This is more info dump, but presented in a way that gets you involved in the comic. And I respect that. So, not too bad overall. It's the kind of thing that, you know, you read it and you're like, okay, I can see how this would be maybe not a hit, but it would have its own following. Assuming that it starts picking up some speed and Jim's able to throw in some plot twists, some character development, and keep the tone lighthearted and keep the action up, which I think he's probably able to do. I'm never going to read it again, you know, and I'm not going to follow up on Guardians of the Galaxy #2. But no, I think it justifies its existence a bit at least. But that's going to do it for this one. Thanks very much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notifications so you know when the next thing's coming out. Go into the description and click the link to my Patreon. If you subscribe there, that gives you access to everything I do. All the Blood Force pages, the finished Blood Force comics are in there, as well as all of these videos before they get uploaded to YouTube, usually a week or so in advance. I'm a little bit behind at the moment, but I'm catching up. This is my week off. There's also a bunch of Patreon exclusive stuff in there. After that, you should head over to my Instagram where I'm still dropping Inktober stuff. Probably. I'm trying to think of when this video is going to go out. Oh yeah, this is only next Friday. Like I said, I'm a little behind. And of course, you can always DM me or email me for commissions. And I think people are starting to do that, so that's all right. You want to get in on that. But yeah, thanks again for watching the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.